I just love that song. That is so cool. Hey, Three Chords and the Truth. We're back again for another cool show with you. We were gone last week because of the holiday weekend, but we're finally back with you. I got a really cool show for you tonight. It's the first time going internationally. This is really kind of cool for us. But as usual, let me get through some of the business. My name is Pete Kramer from Pete Kramer and the Eastwood Project. I'm not sure where the hell Captain Nipples is this week because he never contacted me, but he is from the Noblemen. I've got my Nobleman t-shirt on. They're Buffalo's rockin' country band. At Master Control, we've got Sebastian DeJesus sitting over here that never goes on camera except every once in a while, but he is the host of the 42 North, 78 West Sports Show. Got to mention some of the people. There's so many musicians that have been hurt. Everybody talks about the restaurant business, the airline business, the hospitality business that have been hit by the COVID thing. Nobody talks about musicians, and they should, because musicians need to be talked about. They're missing out on a lot of gigs. They're missing out on income they could have made. So anyway, here's my Nobleman's t-shirt because I love those guys. Gary, I'm sorry, Dakota. I know you're watching, man. And here's my friends from Red Rain. You know, make sure you go out and check those guys out. Buy their merchandise because, you know, they spend some money on stuff to inventory this stuff. They put a lot of money into their equipment and take care of them. As always, Special Spaces. They redo bedrooms for cancer kids, and they're just some of the kindest people ever. Leave us a comment. Like us, subscribe us. Don't be afraid to ask questions because our first guest tonight is just this cool guy because I belong to a lot of Facebook musician pages, mostly singer-songwriter type of things. And this guy, he cracked me up the one day because I'm listening to the first song of his that I listened to was called Raised on Rock. And I'm like, man, this guy's got it. He's just got something there, the way that he sings, the way that he plays, but especially the way that he writes. And I'm also watching, and there was a parody kind of thing that he did called, I think it's called the COVID song. He'll correct me in a minute. But at this point, you know, I'd like to bring in all the way from up north in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He'll correct me again, Toronto Beaches. But no, please welcome our good friend, Chris Scian. Chris, good to have you, man.
Hey, man. Yeah, that was pretty close. My last name. I'm impressed.
Okay, tell me I said
it usually gets butchered. No, it's it's Italian, so it's just got a little bit more of an inflection. It's Scian.
Scian. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But I'm telling you that was pretty close. You know.
Well, thank you. How you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm doing good, man. I'm just just hanging out. The weather's nice here in Toronto. It's it's finally feeling like summer. May was really up and down as far as the weather is concerned. So, just with things being the way they are and living in the beaches is just great to kind of just walk out and head down to the lake and, find a great spot to just chill and read or have a coffee, whatever. So,
nice. Well, like I said, again, the first one was Raised on Rock. That one really got me. That was so cool. And, feel free to interrupt me because I tend to run on a little bit.
I don't mind. Yeah, go ahead, man.
But the COVID song, man, that was so damn funny. Where did that come from? How did you pull it out?
You know what? It was just since the whole thing started, the pandemic, and, it's sort of pushed me. Like, I've always kind of written songs, but I've never been the most prolific writer. And it just pushed me back into songwriting. I play a lot of covers too, as you probably do yourself, right? But which I love to do. But it sort of pushed me back into writing. And I started writing a few songs, and they tend to be more serious. I've always loved music. I love rock, and I tend to like serious songs. I tend to like sad songs. As a lot of people do. But then somebody's just suggested, why don't you write a funny COVID song? I thought, do those two words go together, funny and COVID? I'm like, you know what? When somebody suggests that, it's kind of like, it puts a spark, you're like, let's see if I can do it. What's the worst thing to happen? It's just, well, obviously I want it to be sort of tasteful as much as I could be. And, it just sort of happened like that. I thought I just wanted to keep it really simple. It's not the most complex song musically, but because being a funny song, I thought it shouldn't be, so.
But it worked.
It worked. It worked. Yeah. It was, So the verses sort of came. And I think I got 5 verses in there. I figured that's probably enough. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's going to hit. Yeah. So.
No, and by the way, if you got a question for Chris, make sure you type it into the thing. We can do it live, and you'll get some feedback. But no, I mean, the first one that I listened to was Raised on Rock. Now, that's got to tell me something about, where you came from, where your beginnings are, your grassroots. How'd you start? What was your thing that made you get into music, man?
Well, I'm a bit of a late bloomer, actually, as a musician. I was always creative. I drew a lot as a kid, comics and whatnot. And I always listened to music and rock. This is going way back. But my brother and I, when we were kids, we had a babysitter. She had a nephew, and he was really into Kiss, and obviously he was a bit older than us. But we're just like, oh my God, this is like the coolest band in the world. Like they're superheroes that play rock and roll, and so that was really the beginning, I'd say Kiss. And so I was always a music fan, and I'd seen lots of shows, and I still got my concert stubs from a lot of them and stuff. But it was really, and I started playing guitar, I started playing guitar in my teens, and I don't mean this to be too long-winded or anything, but my friends and I were all about electric guitars. We were into metal. We had our BC Rich guitars, and it was all Metallica riffs, but I can never play them as fast as like my buddy or as technically accurate. But then later, I discovered the acoustic guitar, listened to Neil Young, just got into the chords, singing. And I was like, and then, it came a bit later, like discovering the voice kind of thing. So it really wasn't until about my 30s that I kind of started trying writing songs and learning songs, and then getting out to open mics basically in Toronto. So
is it fair to say, I mean, you just said that you were a fan, but it seems to me like what you're talking about is that you were kind of also at the same time, you were a student.
Yeah, well, sure. I think you absorb. I've listened to so much music, as you yourself probably have, and you just absorb it. So I think now that I'm a little bit older, and working the songwriting muscle, I think a lot of those kind of influences play a part in that for sure. I'm pretty much a rock guy, but I'm trying to stretch it a little bit. Maybe one song's a bit more soul, one's a bit more. My latest one, Barroom Angel, is kind of twangy. I mean, I don't want to say it's country, but like country rock. I
love that song.
Oh, thanks, man.
I was going to get into that a little bit later on.
Sure,
but,
feel free to interrupt me too. So
no, stick around because you're going to see a video from Chris. And I'll let him set that thing up at the when the time comes. But no, we were just before we went on air, we were discussing the differences between our love for beer, and it's coincidental because I'm digging some Molson, and he's in Toronto. He's digging some Coors.
That's good. Yeah.
That's a little bit backwards, but that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
But no, Raised on Rock. I mean, so that's really the way that the whole thing evolved for you. Is that?
Yeah, I think Raised on Rock. When I started to write the song, it was more upbeat and a little bit more. Like maybe a little bit more like the Replacements or something. I don't know if you're too familiar with them. Sort of power pop, a little bit punk. I was trying to go for that a little bit more.
Yep.
And hence the band references like Jane's Addiction, Ramones, kind of thing. But that it was really about expressing the sentiment of just. I didn't want to kind of sound like this curmudgeonly old guy that's kind of hating on new music. But I think if you're of a certain age and you grow up collecting records and listening to rock, I just something's changed. I remember even reading like an interview with Bon Jovi where he said, like the great thing about buying a record as a kid was like you look at the cover, the back, while you're listening to the whole record, you keep flipping it around, and I think that whole idea of just having something concrete with a start, middle, and end, that kind of thing. It's just different. I mean, I could go off on this a little bit, but it was really just about that sentiment of just, I don't know, I think just these bands that they were like your bands, and they had a certain longevity, and it was like even their bad albums were great, or they are later when you look back. You're like, I love the Neil Young 80s stuff just as much as the other stuff. It's all part of the same thing, So
no, I agree.
So I was really just kind of express that sentiment, and there's a bit of humor in it too, obviously.
Well, to me, the whole thing started when MTV came in, because all of a sudden, music started to change. And I've said this a lot of times to a lot of people I've talked to about the music industry, but, all of a sudden, if you weren't really good looking, you couldn't get a record deal. Your music could be great, but there was no music. No records, no nothing. And I agree, man. That was the coolest thing to me. I still remember in 1979, I had to go down to someplace in Virginia. I forget where, but when I got back, the first thing I did, I knew that the new Billy Joel album had just come out. And even before I went home, I popped into the local Kmart and bought Glass Houses because I wanted to hear it. I didn't care about the pop song that was on the radio. I wanted to hear all the rest of it.
Deep cuts and whatnot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I know. And you'd even be willing to, even though you've heard the hits a million times, to listen to the whole album.
Yeah. Because
it's all part of this whole thing, But yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. I mean, in rare cases, like maybe like the Arcade Fire or a band like that, or it'd be more about the album experience. But it's pretty different, and in some ways, like things are more accessible, and to the indie musician, the internet's pretty cool. I mean, look at how we're talking right now, right? Like you just,
right?
Like we've never met in person, but here we are. So so those opportunities are there. It's just a different landscape. Yeah.
But nobody's making a dime, and
that's the thing. Yeah. Go ahead, man. Yeah.
Well, no, all I was going to say is that you could become a plumber in how many years is it going to take? Schooling wise, training wise, or whatever, and you're out there charging $160 an hour. And for musicians, it's a whole different gamut, because you work your whole life to go ahead and do this. You invest a lot of money in the equipment to get into a gig, and everybody wants it for free.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? It's the same here for the most part in this city. I don't know if that. I'm guessing that probably varies depending on the city or the country or part of the world. I don't know, but here that seems to be the consensus. I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this.
Free entertainment.
What I noticed back a few years ago when the recession hit here in the States was around 2008, 2009, whatever, clubs or venues, they used to hire bands. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, you can host an open mic night. And you'd get all the flood of musicians that weren't working that would come in that would do the open mic, and the bar owners were like, "This is great. We don't have to pay anybody."
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. Was it the same thing there?
Yeah. I mean, the host would get paid, and and rightly so, just for setting up the gear, maybe bringing in his own gear, that kind of thing, or her. So, but yeah, the performers that are getting up for 3 songs, unless maybe they were a featured act, then maybe the host might give them a cut, or a portion of the tip jar or what have you. I mean, it's pretty tip jar oriented, so, I don't know,
Well, that brings me to another question, because I know here in Western New York, you could be a great musician, which I don't consider myself. I'm just okay, but I dig doing original music, and every song that's ever been written that's the best one ever, I don't care if it's Yesterday or That's Life by Frank Sinatra, it was always an original song at some point. But if you start playing original songs around here, you lose the audience. And I wonder, is it the same in Toronto?
I think maybe it It just depends where. Like if you're talking about the suburbs and maybe bars that are maybe like beer and wings and sports bars and that, and maybe they have a band on a Friday or Saturday night, they're probably going to want mostly covers and probably top 40. But when you get into different parts of Toronto, like maybe more downtown, or there's other areas that the Annex is sort of the west area where you get more like, there might be a little bit more of a coffee house type vibe, even though it's a bar, like just and maybe it just depends on the night, the night of the week too, so
Right.
yeah, it varies. I think when you get into the burbs and what they call the greater Toronto area, then you get into more of the cover bands for sure. Yeah. They might throw in one original, but there's bands I've seen that they probably have originals, but I don't hear them play them, like it's covers. And there's some great cover bands, it's just yeah. So I think it's maybe tends to be more one or the other, so.
Do you play out much?
I when things are normal, I would say like relatively not as much as somebody who's considering themselves like a working musician, like I do gigs, but it's not like so regular kind of thing. And it tends to be maybe more in my neck of the woods, which actually doesn't have a lot of live music venues. And I think that's even more the case now. So
Really?
yeah, well, it didn't, it's a little bit, I don't want to say it's suburban out here in the beaches. Like it's a community. It does have bars and such in a nightlife, but it's not so much of a nightlife, it doesn't have that many bars,
like a regional thing.
Yeah. I think so. As far as the cover bands, if that's what you're asking, yeah, I would say playing regularly, like on a Friday night or a Saturday night, is probably more of a regional thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's a lot of artists in Toronto. I mean, there's a lot of, and I'm not so, like, I don't go out and see a lot of acts, and I'm kind of attached to this area, maybe it's me getting older and stuff. I like the area. I like being near the lake, so.
Understood.
Yeah. So.
All right, so tell us about your recording. When you do record these videos, tell me how these things, is it a band? Is it
sure.
you?
Yeah. So it's okay. So, so I started writing songs, and then I'm like, over even just the 13 years I've lived out here in the East End, I've from open mics and whatnot, I've gotten to know musicians. And a couple of them I've been in bands with, and I just figure, like I'll reach out to them, see if they're interested in playing on my song, So I just say, hey, if you like the song, feel like laying down a track, like I use GarageBand on my Mac,
Mm-hmm.
and so I just say, like I just give them the file, like if it's the drummer, say, just with the click track, here's the BPM. This is, and it's like, it tends to come together pretty well. Not to say that I'm not picky, but I guess maybe just the guys that I've reached out to, like, sort of have a sense of where I'm coming from. And my songs are not all that complex, in terms of time signatures and that kind of thing. So it's actually pretty amazing still, though, that it comes together with everybody just kind of just following the same click track. So that's just the recording part, right? Like that's the mix part, and then the video was like I last year I wasn't doing so many of the videos. I was kind of just doing like a sort of like on COVID times, like the recording, I just put a picture kind of thing, and it just sort of plays right through,
Right.
And I spent some time on the picture and stuff, but a couple of friends of mine were starting to do like little videos and stuff. And I don't know why I sort of held off on that. It was kind of like, I think I just realized a friend of mine said, hey, you should look on the internet for like some stock footage and stuff. So I thought, this is something, maybe I could do something just from home. Like I don't have to go out and film anything. So I just started like downloading stock. If I'm not looking at you, don't take it. I hope I'm not being rude. I'm just
No.
I find like I'm looking at my laptop, looking at the mic. But yeah, I would just download some stock footage, whatever. Like, it's not like I have like a blueprint of what the video is going to be. It's just like I try to find images that might fit with the music, and then I'll ask the guys, do you mind just laying down, like, play the drums, but make sure the playback, I can hear the playback so I can sync it,
right,
which is still not that easy. It's a lot of like hand-eye coordination, trying to line things up, which I would think for a lot of people would probably be pretty tedious and aggravating, but I have some time on my hands, and I'm pretty meticulous, so I don't mind doing that stuff. So I spend a bit of time on it, and I think the videos have come along a little bit since the first one. So
well, that's one thing that
yeah,
I've noticed. I mean, you and I are both in a bunch of different songwriter groups, or whatever it might be on Facebook and stuff like that. But the one thing I've noticed, like, I'll go ahead and put a song up there, and it's literally just a Reverb Nation thing where it's got the picture of the band.
Yeah.
Or somebody else will put something else up there with a SoundCloud. But what draws me is that if I see that it says YouTube, and I don't care if it's just a bunch of still photos. I don't know if it's a visual thing. I'm going to watch that more so than I'm going to watch, or I'm sorry, I'm going to watch that more so than I'm going to listen to a SoundCloud or a Reverb Nation thing.
That's a good point, and I think that was partly the incentive for me too, because I am on YouTube, and it's hard to not compare yourself, because it just, as soon as you go on something like that, you're like, okay, well, I got 26 subscribers. This person has 20,000 subscribers, and part of you after a while starts going, okay, well, what are they doing? And I think maybe I just kind of started seeing, well, people doing little videos and stuff, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not crazy about the video, whatever. Maybe it looks kind of low budget or whatever, but maybe people are more likely to watch it and sit through it if there is images happening,
Yeah.
So that was partly the incentive too, and I think that's made a difference too. I think maybe more people are willing to view it, and the other thing too is, I tend to post on Facebook, like when I have a new song video, I post it on my timeline. But there's times it's a timing thing. I don't know, like, what's the best night? Sunday night, the best night? I don't know.
Right.
You put it up on Sunday and you get 2 likes, and you're like, wow, maybe 3:00 in the morning is better. Like, it's hard to know, right? So, but I have a friend that would, like, he messages you directly the video. It's just like, hey, it's me again. And it's maybe a little personal thing, and I'm thinking, I am watching his videos when he messages them to me, and I probably would watch them anyway, but it does maybe do something. So the fact that I would put a video together, I feel less guilty direct messaging people my music, whatever they happen to be doing in that moment. It's like, hey, here's 3 minutes of a song, but also something that I put some work into creatively, like visually, so anyway, I think that kind of sort of sums it up. But
no, I agree. And there's pluses and there minuses. I've tried to figure out the same thing myself. Do you do it at Friday night, and then, oh, hell no, Friday night, everybody's going out and nobody's going to see it until the next day? Do you put it up on Saturday morning? Do you do it on Wednesday? I've gone through all that stuff, and it just, there's no rhyme or reason. And the only thing I can think of is that you go back to the days when radio was radio. Mm-hmm. You would get in your car, you would drive someplace, and you'd hear this new Rolling Stones song. And, maybe it was nothing you've ever heard before, but that was kind of cool. Well, guess what? The next hour, they're playing it again. Mm-hmm. And then, oh, I remember that now. Oh, yeah, now the third hour.
Right.
And the song becomes a friggin' major hit. And in these days right now, and I've heard Daryl Hall. I'm sure you've watched Daryl's House.
Yeah, great show. Yeah, it's great.
I love that show.
Yeah.
But and Daryl goes on. He did an interview with Dan Rather, and he says, I think this is a better time than even when I was coming up, because you can build a tribe, were his words. He says, this is even better than when I was coming up. And I'm thinking to myself, I admire you, man, but if people don't know where to find your music,
he's Daryl Hall, like he's gonna
exactly,
he's gonna find a way, or somebody's gonna find a way for him, like, I mean, and he's probably being genuine that it's, I mean, those guys paid their dues to get where they were, and it was like, how many albums did they have? I mean, they did have hits in the 70s, but it was really the 80s was their breakthrough. I mean, it's a long haul, but just as a side note, I'm not really signed into this app we're using, and I'm just not seeing any comments or private chat. I'm just wondering if there just isn't any, or if I'm just not seeing them for that reason.
Oh no, there's one.
There is one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see any notifications there. So
I'll put it up there for you.
Oh, okay, cool. Hey, Susan. Appreciate that. Yeah.
Nice.
It's good to know. Yeah,
Nice. No, I mean, Daryl Hall is one of the most genuine guys.
That's a good one too. If it's going to be one, I rather it be positive like that.
Well, no, I'm sure you get a lot of positive. I'll get a lot of negative. So,
can I just ask? Like, I haven't heard any music of yours, which I definitely will check out after we're done here. If you have anything up, which it sounds like you do, but I'm just curious. Like, about yourself? Like, are you presently in a band, or
you can't interview the host.
Okay. All right. Let's hear it.
No, that's fine.
We can keep it brief, 20 words or less.
No, I actually do. We're starting our 5th studio album. We've got a lot of stuff. We don't do a lot of videos, but as we speak, I'm going to go back over here to this gentleman. He's doing a video for us that should be done pretty soon. It's, oh God, do I really say this? My 45th high school reunion is coming up.
Oh, okay.
And I wrote a song called 1976. And we basically went through my entire yearbook and asked all these people if their yearbook pictures could be in it. And it's going to be kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, we don't gig too much,
right,
Chris, because the guys that I work with, a lot of them are, they come in here, they work, and they lay down these tracks, and we record them, but nobody listens to them. Okay. And that's what I find is a sad thing. And I've shopped Nashville, I've shopped Los Angeles, I've shopped Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, and I get the CDs sent back unopened.
Okay.
And you as an artist, you know what that feels like, because if they said you suck, I could live with that. But the fact that you didn't even listen to it, how do you know what you're missing?
That's hard. Yeah.
I mean, I've been a writer for a long time. I used to be in, cover bands and stuff like that, and that was cool. But I mean, I want to do my songs.
Right.
I don't want to do remakes of the Beatles or Skinner or whatever. Is that fun? Sure. And I'll tell you something funny though. One night we were doing a New Year's Eve gig and we were wrapping up, and I'm not, you might be too young to understand what I'm talking about, but there was this group of women that came up to the stage and they said, "Hey, could you do Eve of Destruction?" I'm like, what? That old Barry Maguire song from 1964 or 5 or whatever the hell it was. And the guys had no interest. They're like, okay, give me my money. Let me get out of here. I said, all right, I'll do it. I got my, acoustic guitar, and I sat there. They all got up and danced. I mean, why would you dance to Eve of Destruction?
Eve of Destruction.
On a New Year's Eve party.
That's right.
But it made them happy.
Yeah. That sounds like a scene out of a Tarantino film or something like that. pretty bleak song, yeah. But yeah, I guess people want to dance. You know, that's the thing with the cover bands. Like going back to what you're asking me before, yeah.
Yeah, and that's
know.
what I want to get back to, because this is not about me. This is your show, man.
Sure, no
I wanna
problem,
get
man.
Off
no
of this
problem.
stuff,
Yeah.
and again, we're getting close to almost to the end. I've still got a few more things that I want to ask Chris, but again, Raised on Rock was the first thing that just it caught me. I loved your writing style, and I'm going to ask you real quick because I want to get to the video of, and I'll let you set up the video, but when you get into the writing mode, you know, how does it get you? Do you get like a melody first when you're playing your guitar, or do you just like get a feel for the words that you want to do? What works for you?
I think it's the melody. I mean, I actually, you know, the phones are great because you have the recording app on there, the voice recording app, when you have an idea, and it often is a melody. It's not a lyric, and I do like what Jeff Tweedy in his book calls a mumble track, you know, for the most part. So you just kind of hum the melody out, and maybe something that sounds kind of like English, but they're not actual words, you know, just to get a sense of how you might sing over it. But even that, like, it just tends to be more the melody instrumentally. Like I'll just hum it, you know, and I guess, and sometimes I'll just go and I'll listen through, you know, those recordings that I have, and it's the ones that stand out. Like okay, this kind of grabs me, and you know, maybe I've kind of muttered something that sounds like it could potentially be a song. Like, I'm not saying that it happens like that all the time, but you know, it's usually the melody. Like, I think, yeah, even Jeff Tweedy in his book said, I think he said, I'm paraphrasing, but like melody is king, you know, and that it does a lot of he says something like, it does a lot of the heavy lifting emotionally, you know. Mm-hmm. And I just think that that's what really hooks a person into a song in a way, you know. I mean, it's a lot of variables, but I growing up from personally listening to songs, the lyrics always kind of came second, even though they're integral to the song. And, you know, maybe I wouldn't have liked a lot of those songs if it wasn't for great lyrics. But I just know that before the internet came along, I thought the lyrics were this, and then I'd look at the lyrics and I'm like, oh, that's not what he's saying at all. You know, I mean, Kiss wasn't too hard to figure out where he was going with, or, you know, Gene or Paul were going with the intent of the song. But
right,
you know, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so, you know, you find yourself whistling the melody, and you know, this isn't a novel breakthrough or anything like that. I'm just saying this is kind of how I approach it. And whereas I think some people maybe write the lyrics first, I don't really. I have to have the melody. I even have to have my guitar in my hand. I got like my little mini Yamaha acoustic. And so when I'm writing, I got the old school with the pen and paper, and I have to kind of keep playing the riff and singing with the riff, you know? So
that's interesting, because you listen to like Elton John. He's like, you know, I got the easiest job in the world. Bernie gives me the lyrics, and all I have to do is make the melody.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, you come up with these melodies off of that?
I know, that's amazing. Or like Neil Peart and Geddy Lee, you know. Or Peart, I should say. You know. Well, I hope my whole life it was Peart. Now I find out it's Peart. Yeah.
No, but, I think I maybe have done 3 or 4 songs total that I came up with the melody first. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll record the melody either on a digital recorder or my phone or something like that. And then I'll have a bunch of lyric sheets. And I'm like, okay, what fits? But typically I've got to have something that I've got to write about, because I got to be passionate about the lyrics. But then, for me at least, trying to wrap the melody around whatever the issue is that I'm talking about in the lyrics. But
I like that, the issue. That's another thing too. Like, I call it the sentiment, you know, like locking into the sentiment, you know, like, because that's, I think, also another challenging thing. Like, it's just hard. Songwriting is hard, right? Like, I mean, it's the melody, it's the chords from the verse to the chorus, or the pre-chorus to the chorus, and then there's the lyrics, you know.
Yeah.
But what are you trying to say with the song, you know? Like For me, I just call it. You call it the issue. I call it the sentiment. It's basically the
Same
same
difference.
thing. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
because if I don't know what I'm writing about, I mean, in the past, I've started so many songs like just I've got the verse, I got the chorus, and then it dies. You know, and maybe that's partly out of my own laziness, not following through. But you know, it's like I've gotten a lot better at that. Like, and even if a song doesn't end up amounting to something, like you were just saying, like I'll go back and find lyrics that I didn't, you know, that song didn't get complete, and use them and try to use them in the new song, something like that. I find it's just easier when you got words in front of you, you know, like, and sometimes it's just, you know, like I have my little scrapbook and, you know, just write the idea and try to get the sentiment down. And then you could always change it later to sound more like Shakespeare. You know, and you know, but get the idea down, and you're cringing as you're writing it. You're like, nobody's gonna see this damn book, man. There's no way anyone's gonna see this book, because you cringe. You know, you cringe at first, and then later you kind of like, okay, well, at least I got like clay to sculpt from, right? But if I've got nothing, if I got a blank page, that's the hardest. You know, to try to write in your head, and
it's tough.
It's tough, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's very
you know,
tough.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we've been talking an awful
Sure.
lot about the different things that you've done and stuff like that. Now I guess we have to prove it, right? So Sebastian is sitting over here with bated breath because we're going to play this video. If you want to set it up for us, you know the one that we're playing, right?
You're talking to me?
Yes. No, yeah, oh, yes. Yeah, it's not Sebastian's video.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm not playing the video. He's playing the video. I'm
That's
just
right.
introducing the video. Got it.
Yeah.
I was
Just set it up for us,
clarifying.
man.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. So this is not my latest tune, but the previous one. It's called "Gotta Let You Go," and it's kind of a bluesy tune. And I think it came together pretty well. I had some great players on it, and the video is kind of funny and fun. I at least I think so, and other people seem to think so. So, anyways, that's it. I hope you like it. Yeah.
Well, here we go. Let's listen to Chris. Now, make sure I say it right. Chris Scian.
Better. Scian.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
It's Italiano, but it ends.
would-
It ends in a consonant, which is a bit odd for Italian. So I'm an odd guy, so it's perfect. Yeah.
That works. All right. Let's listen to Chris. Come on, man. Play it for us.
I've been drifting through my days, waking up whenever, shutting out the world from my life. Friends say it's just a phase, a hurting heart can't last forever. It's time to take it all in stride. So I took a walk down to the lake, was soaking up the sun and floating on away. Though you know it bruised my soul when you went out the way you came. Now I gotta let you go. Well, if I could talk myself out of you, now you're not around, I might feel some release in my time. With 2 feet on the ground, hardly seem to make sound. And these eyes just sigh when I see your face online. Well, I took a walk down to the lake, was soaking up the sun and riding all the way. You know it bruised my soul when you went out the way you came. Now I gotta let you go. Girl, I see you in everything, 'cause I just can't let you go. my soul. But if I could just let you go before I go insane, you know you messed my world, watched it unfurl. Oh, I gotta let you go.
Dude, that was some kind of crazy good. That was
Thanks,
so
man.
cool. That was so cool. I think you're the only other person I know that has ever used the word unfurled to work with world.
Unfurled. Yeah. I wonder if I think I might have pondered that one for a bit. I'm like, yeah, was this gonna work? Unfurled. I know. It's funny like that sometimes when you're like, yeah. It's not a word I use a lot in my everyday life. That's for sure.
No, but
Unfurled, you know.
you found it and it worked.
Yeah.
Right? That is
Yeah.
so freaking cool. I'm
Yeah.
telling you. I don't know, man. This has just been really cool because, you know, for anybody that doesn't know this, Chris and I have never met. You know, we just we connected on Facebook because of a group page of songwriters and musicians and stuff like that. I heard his stuff and I'm like, this guy is really freaking cool. And for anybody that doesn't know, this will be archived on YouTube. You can go back and check it out afterwards. You can, Chris, you can share it to, you know, other pages or whatever. But like us, make some comments if anybody's got some more comments. But I don't know. This has just been really great, man. Is there anything that you else, because we're running close to, you know, the closing time. I think we got about 10 more minutes. But anything else that you want to bring up to us?
No, I can't say I do. I mean, other than you know, I'm always writing and recording, and probably have a couple more songs out relatively soon. So, you know, if somebody wants to message me on Facebook or add me, you know,
that's the other
cool
thing.
too,
How do people find you? Because you know,
yeah, well, you know, it's just my name, Chris Scian, Scian, Facebook. So I do have actually a fan page.
okay.
Just music and art. You know, it's my name, music and art. So I also post my videos. I upload them directly there. So you know, they can find me there. There's also you know, Reverb Nation, like yourself. I'm on there. It's a great site, actually. I think it's great. And then there's YouTube, and also just under my name. And I have a Spotify. I'm on Spotify as well. So.
Do you have any merch that you sell at any of your shows or anything like that?
No, I don't have any merch. Yeah, something to consider maybe when I start playing again.
Well,
you know, it might be.
If you had it, I wanted to promote it. The people.
I appreciate you asking. Yeah, I'm a little shy on merch. Maybe I got to jump on that. Maybe some masks with my.
Oh God!
My mug on there.
Let's not go into that.
No, let's not go into that.
I don't want to do the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
Well, did that screw you up at all musically? COVID.
You know, it just I do miss, like a lot of people miss playing live, but I don't know. I wouldn't say it screwed me up. You know, I mean, it did affect work and whatnot. So,
yeah.
But I've managed okay, so I'm not complaining. It hasn't been so bad, and I didn't catch it, which is, you know, the best. Like I do not want to catch that thing. So I can't imagine anybody does, but you know, so
no, absolutely.
Yeah. So
well, look, my personal recommendation to anybody that's watching, check out Raised on Rock. Check out Chris's COVID song. You know, you already saw the other video that was really cool, and check out Barroom Angel. And I'm only touching the surface because those are only the ones that I've watched so far. But this cat, he's got it all, man. He's got some really cool songs. He's got some really cool melodies. It's great. And Chris, I don't know, man. It's just been great having you here. I got to tell you about next week, though, because next week we've got my good friend Larry Smith, who my friend Ian Hanovan says that they don't think that that's his real name. They think he's in witness protection program. But Larry is in every band in Buffalo. He's just a good guy. If I call him up and say, Larry, can you come over and play mandolin on one of my tunes that I want to record? He's there. Larry, could you play harmonica? He's there. I got to put the test to him and say, Larry, could you play oboe? He probably could do it. He has surprised me the one time when I said, I want some banjo on this thing. He's like, well, if you've got one. So I got one for him, and I went into the recording studio over at my friend John Martin's house. I said, how's that working out for you? He's like, well, pretty good. First time I ever played one. I hate you, man. You're so freaking talented. But yeah, no, I got to say thank you so much for Chris being here tonight. It was a pleasure playing your songs, man. It was a pleasure just the conversation. And I'm sorry I wasted too much time on beer.
Oh man, like, hey, thanks for having me. And listen, this is great. We never met, and you reached out to me, and it's great, man. I
dig your music. I got one last question to ask you. Can you come back when you get your next video?
I can do that. I absolutely can do that. I'll try to wear a different T-shirt. Maybe I think I have Ramones or something. I can, yeah.
Cool. Well, again, thanks so much. And this is, Three Chords and the Truth. Pete Kramer signing out, and we'll go with the last melody that we do to sign out with. Thanks, man.
Cheers. Thanks, Pete.